So before I'm going to start this video, I'm going to talk about it for a bit because there's really a lot to say, and the time would be not sufficient enough in order to cover everything that I need to say. So starting with this video, I entered the dungeon named Last Crypt, and it's really the start of this TAS project, if you want to say so, because up until this point it was very linear in what to do in this task. Like, every time I just needed to go from point A to point B as fast as possible. But now the rooms are not as linear anymore, so there are way more possibilities in how to solve a room the fastest way. And I basically had to redo most of the rooms, like up to 50 or 100 times, just to see, is it viable to maybe do this strat, or does it not work out at all. And in the end, I think for every room I found a solution that I was, I could say I was happy with. Sometimes it did not go as, it did not turn out as good as I wanted it to happen, but all in all, I think it's a pretty good outcome for this test, so let's start this. So first thing to do is we need to go back to the village after the coal mine. Just some trivial movement, nothing major. Entering the screen slightly to the right here, so I get basically quote-unquote teleported to the very right when entering the screen, saves a couple of frames. It's just optimizing the dashes here, really. So now you can see that Chess' house is blocked by a lady. And you don't need to talk to her because she's just going to say Sybil wanted to meet you. And well, since we already know what we have to do, we can just go to Sybil right away. And now this is starting off with a very lengthy cutscene. I think this is about a 2-minute cutscene, something like that. I guess I could also use this time to talk about some of the rooms later on a bit. So most of the rooms that I had really trouble with were the rooms with enemies inside. And there were so many options which I could have used to kill the enemies in the room in order to progress. Like, I had the bombs, which are essentially a one-shot for every enemy inside this dungeon except the boss. Then I had a dagger, which is for the slimes 3 hits, for the ghouls 5 hits I believe. And for the ghosts, but you don't really get to see them. And in some rooms there were even pots or barrels. Well, I guess only pots in this dungeon that were used. And they are essentially a one-shot as well, and you don't need to wait for them to explode, unlike the bomb, because you can just throw them onto an enemy. So every time I had to make like decisions on what to use, really. And I think I came up with the best solution for all of the rooms. Sometimes RNG didn't really want to go in my favor at all, so I had to do some pretty heavy manipulations. Fortunate enough though, all enemies I had to deal with that were RNG based in this dungeon were pretty easy to manipulate by just standing in the right spot. Like, slimes either attack you if you're standing too close, or move towards you if you're standing not as far away from them. The ghouls are basically the same. As soon as you go into their radius, they are going to charge at you, which you can very easily abuse to make them go wherever you want them to go. But still, in the meantime, while you are manipulating other enemies, the ones that are already activated in the room, they are free to go everywhere, so you kind of have to find a compromise between how to manipulate the enemies you're currently on and not making all the other enemies go way out of your path. So yeah, done with this cutscene. We're getting some flowers because all the miners died in the coal mine, so we need to go to the cemetery and basically press F to pay respect. And again, right there was another optimization going into the loading zone. So after this little quote-unquote cutscene plays, you have roughly, I think it was 180 frames, something like that, until you reach that zone. Otherwise a text will display, which is not that big of a deal for a TAS. You will always make it in time. So now starting with this dungeon. What the game intends you to do is go upstairs into a room and talk with a ghost that will tell you that you have to pay your respect to the sages inside this room, which I'm currently already doing, because it's actually not required for him to tell you what to do. You can just go there and do the puzzle, and afterwards you just go upstairs again and talk to him twice. Once for him telling you that you have to do this puzzle, which you already did, and the second time to tell him that you solved the puzzle. So that saves basically a second trip upstairs here. So yeah, there's the first interaction with him telling you that you have to do the puzzle. And right when I stopped talking to him, I activated it again and tell him, yep, I'm already done. So we can go ahead. And now the next room is the first room. I had to make some decisions. Basically what I came up with is I need to find the frame where I pull the second bomb as early as possible. Because I really just had to wait until the second bomb explodes in order to finish this room, so as long as I found the frame where I can pull the second bomb as early as possible, it was not that big of a deal optimizing it. When you talk with those signs, the bombs are not going to advance further in their explosion status, so I experimented around with talking to the signs first before pulling the bombs, but that did not end up saving any time. So right here, the first bomb jump, or item carry jump. To pull a bomb gives you one additional frame of animation, so you can make it over those gaps instead of going around solving some minor puzzle. Saves about roughly 6 seconds, I believe. So right here the old TAS used some bombs. I don't really understand why, because it's way slower using bombs for those pillars. And yeah, this room, it was a nightmare. Just watch it. It was such a nightmare to figure something out that would work. And in the end there was still one enemy I could not get to manipulate at all. But yeah, I'm really happy with how this turned out. 2 bombs and just killing the last slime manually. It overall saved a couple seconds over what was the old TAS doing. Or the current one, I should say. This one is not finished. So right here you're supposed to hit the 2 levers, which are not connected to the water pot. But you can just go around, do another bomb jump, skip all of that. An auto-scroller section with a platform. I think just this room alone saves roughly 15 seconds. Because of not having to do the auto-scroller. And the second time you simply use the barrel over your head instead of a bomb to jump over the gap again. So since you move really slow on those conveyor belts, since your movement is locked, it turned out to be much faster jumping all the way to the right and as far down as possible. Unfortunately here you have to read the sign, so I'm just messing around a bit, because I have to wait for this platform to move all the way up and down again. And jumping onto this path here as early as possible. Yeah, the current TAS also used to bomb. It's so much slower, I don't understand why. For this room, I came up with this strategy. It ended up saving some time over killing them manually or using the pots. Whereas, when you're coming from this side, using the pots here is much faster. So now we are already at the boss for this dungeon. And this boss takes exactly 10 bombs to kill. Or 30 slashes with your dagger. So 3 slashes with your dagger equals to 1 bomb. Well, I'm just messing around until the first bomb explodes, and then I'm going to use a glitch where when you get hit and the bomb explodes, you can just pull another bomb and it will immediately explode. So I'm just making sure to hit him on the earliest frame possible with every bomb while I have some fun with this glitch. And right there we already killed him. And I wasn't really sure what to do, so I decided to go like around the room and then just dash until I had to stop. Yeah, this was basically this dungeon already. I bet I forgot to explain some of the stuff, but I hope I at least covered the major parts. Yeah, right here, just some simple text advancing. And then opening 4 chests, which is really slow on emulator since the item fanfare glitch is only active on PS2 with fast disk speed. So yeah, this takes a while.